Today, I am so super pumped up to be talking about your zone of genius. Your zone of genius. How many of y'all know what zone of genius is? Okay. So,
I am a genius.
Yes, honey. Let's claim that. Let's just talk on that. Let's let folks know I am a genius. I love that. So, zone of genius is that thing that only you uniquely can bring to the table. So that it's something that you will uniquely bring to the table. Only you can do it. All of us on this call could be, let's say, fitness people. We could all be fitness people, but each one of us are going to bring something different to the table. It is something that is so unique. And I found that, especially in my practice, I found that when I was trying to do things perfect, because most of us get into that space of we want to do things the right way, even if we're not like crazy, perfectionists, but we'll get into a space of it has to be excellent, it has to be right, it has to be this way before we do something, and then we become these mimic artists. And it's not. I'm not trying to talk about us, because I'm gonna say, I've been in there with my practice. I lined up pictures once, and you'll see me when I first started. I have a little flowery dress on, and I'm like, hi! And I'm not the flowery dress, hi, kind of girl. I might be bubbly, but that just wasn't me. And so I realized I was not bringing my zone of genius to the table. And I wanted to just bring it to your attention. What zone of genius is, it's what makes you unique. A lot of times we think it's our shortcoming. A lot of times we don't honor our perception, our different perception of things. And so I always like to have like perspective and perception shifts. And if we all just stopped right now and thought about our zone of genius and what makes us unique, I think we would beat ourselves up less. We would take risks more. We would be able to rest when we need to rest, not feeling like we might be an imposter or having imposter syndrome. So I'm gonna give you some tips, but I'm gonna talk about this in a masterclass that I'm having. I'm having a masterclass next Thursday, and we'll go into a lot of deeper detail. I'll make sure all of you have the link, but when we're talking about zone of genius, I want to give you some quick signs that you may not be flowing. I like that word, flowing in your zone of genius. You see here, I always have my notes. One of the things is that you are probably exhausted when you finish working. If you're exhausted when you finish working, it's probably a sign that you're not flowing in your zone of genius. And I don't mean just, you stayed up late working on a deadline and you haven't slept. Of course you're going to be exhausted. But I mean just regular day. You spent a couple of hours doing something, and when you finish, you're just like, man, you feel like you need to just take a nap before you even get started. That's a sign that you're not flowing in your zone. You're not using your intuition when you're working. You might be working and you have an idea or a thought, and then you're like, oh no. You're probably going, oh, somebody's not going to accept that, or no, that doesn't make sense. But you've had that thought a couple of times and you're not flowing in that. And you don't really know what sets you apart. And I have to speak to this because I know a lot of you are starting businesses or thought about starting businesses, and I'll speak to my business, the coaching world. There are millions of us. And if I didn't accept my very unique gift that I'm bringing, I would so be lost in this market. I wouldn't even have the confidence to be in this market. But a long time ago, I had to wake up. I had a coach who was like, honey, if you don't wake up, you might as well try to do something else. Because I had to wake up to what my unique talent and gift was, what I was bringing to the table. And I have discovered this in coaching. Every single private coaching person who's coached with me privately, and some of you who are in group coaching, know that I always have you fill out a questionnaire to get you into the space of what are the areas I want to grow, how am I going to be challenged, or even you and I, when we're on private coaching, what we're going to talk about. And one of the things that is common is time management. And when I looked at it, 9 times out of 10, if you're having a challenge with time management, you might not be flowing in your zone of genius. You might not be flowing in your zone of genius. So the art of time management is what's going to be those breadcrumbs. It's what's going to be that a clue to where your zone of genius lies. And that's something I'll be talking about next week. If you don't know what your zone of genius is, we'll uncover that, and we'll uncover that by looking at your time. So I'm going to give you a couple of questions that you guys can ask yourselves this week. And when you ask yourself these questions this week, it'll usher you into, oh yeah, that's why I'm dope. Or, oh no, I don't need to be doing that. That's definitely not my zone. You're probably going to see oh no, that's definitely not my zone a lot more. But that's going to also give you a clue of where you want to be spending your time. Where you want to be spending your time. We're going to really uncover that. So the big question is, how are you spending your time? What does your time feel like? And these are questions you might want to journal into. Are you energized when you're done working? Are you energized when you're done working? How are you approaching what you do? How are you approaching what you do? So I would just ask myself those questions. Just because we're on the wind down and I know it's short, I wanted to make sure I gave you something to walk away with. I always love that actionable step thing, and just to awaken you this week and go, hey, while you're working this week, you're probably gonna be like, oh, heck no, this ain't my zone. Most of y'all might be like, yeah, I know for sure this is not my zone. But then it's also gonna give you some guidance to know this is my zone. This is my zone of genius. And these are just things to put in your conscious so that when you are in the process, it'll be like on your subconscious, and you'll go, oh wow. Here's a really good one too, but this isn't necessarily your question, but this is something to add to what you're doing. I would add to this, is what you're doing feel timeless? How many of you have had a moment where you were doing something and it just felt timeless? Yeah? Did you feel like that was flow? Am I right? Okay, all right, yeah, that feels like flow to me. And so that's an area where you can go, oh, that's something that I need to lean into. That's something that I need to lean into. Okay, so I'm launching a masterclass series. Next week on Thursday is the masterclass. Those masterclasses are gonna be 57, but for everyone who is on the Wednesday wind down, it's going to be 37 for you guys. So I so look forward to seeing you on there. We're gonna talk about how you can maximize your time, uncover your zone of genius, and then set you up for April. I'll be walking you through the guided journal so that you can take those steps into actionable steps for the month. So you'll be set for April, for May 1st, by start doing this on April 30th. That is what I have. Now, we are ready for our girlfriend's chat.